And Rob, you have to start playing guitar.
Oh crap!
That's right. We don't have our opening music.
No,
oh my God!
I have to dub it in. I'm gonna do it just about.
Dub it in.
Can I just do air guitar or something? I don't know.
That's what we're good at.
Oh, we lost Leonard.
Oh, he went frozen. Wow. Maybe.
Always playing a trick on us, but he's doing really well if he is.
Look, he doesn't know he's frozen though. He thinks he's still connected. That's the sad part, you know.
Well, thank God he wasn't. Thank God he wasn't flipping us off when he did that.
Exactly. You know, some people just aren't.
At least he had the right finger up. It could have been the other one.
And you're back. You should walk outside, Leonard.
No. I know. I should just stay around here. Apparently, the reception is good near coffee.
Yes.
Isn't that ironic? That's coincidental, right? Coffee talk.
Yeah.
Coffee, good reception.
Coffee beans are a natural antenna, actually. You know, I learned that from our friends at Igneon, you know, that they use coffee to make those little red antennas for devices. So it's a thing.
Wow. I thought you were joking.
Oh, I thought you were joking. Is that actually true?
You know what? You can fool everyone all the time.
When did a food ingredient become a...
Who else is talking? Someone else is talking. Someone hijacked our call.
I hear a female.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
that's
no,
her.
She's in the background.
That's your neighbor back there, yeah.
It's what happens when you get close to the coffee. A bunch of people hang out. So Leonard, can you tell everybody what the TM forum really is and what it's all about? People outside telecom don't have heard of it.
Yeah, it's about digital transformation. Digital. Oh, come on.
Oh, gosh.
Nice.
Is there any money in that?
Apparently it's, you know, honestly, I mean, they try their best, but it's just in a state of confusion and, you know, scale back expectations, you know, which equals a bit of disappointment, right? But it's for the telecoms industry, and their focus is on a lot of, you know, more of the front end aspects of the telco business, right? You know, so you know, front end customer experience, you know, BSS down to the OSS, which is, you know, managing all of the infrastructure services and surfacing them up to the top to be sold to consumers and hopefully enterprises, right? And so there's a lot of discussions around how all these new cloud-based technologies are going to transform the infrastructure and enable new services, and you know, how 5G is going to create all these new opportunities for telcos and make their revenues do this hockey stick thing. But you know, of course, we're still stuck in you know, asking the question, you know, going almost 4 years into 5G. Where's the money? You know, where's the growth? Is basically what you know, the chairman of TM Forum stated yesterday at the keynote. So, you know, I think it's just another. I mean, this is something very familiar to the IoT community, right? And we're just seeing it here in the comms community, where it's just a lot of. There was a large hump of nonsense that was incubated over time, and a lot of it is kind of deflated. But you know what's always nice about when you hit the trough of disillusionment is that there's some soul searching that happens, and then eventually people that really kind of get it, who are already been tuning into what was valuable. I mean, they have their time in the spotlight, and you know, some of what they were saying in the past, where they were getting ridiculed for not being as aspirational or open-minded, now they're getting a lot of attention, right? It's like all the practical stuff is starting to make a hell of a lot more sense, which is nice. But then it's weird because you hear people still regurgitate a lot of the nonsensical shit, like, remote surgery. I mean, I just heard it. Again, it's like, dude, how can you get up there on stage and start talking about intercontinental remote surgery in this, at this point, you know what I'm saying? Where that notion has been completely dispelled, yet you still have these people that have that crap in their PowerPoints, and it's still a part of their talking track. And it just sounds even more ridiculous than it did before, right? It was already ridiculous. Now it's just like, you are ridiculous for bringing it up, despite these notions being refuted. But anyways, I'm going to stop.
Yeah.
And
it sounds like
that's what TM Forum's all about, man.
Negative Nancy.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Sounds like intercontinental ballistic missiles to me, dude. That's the only intercontinental stuff that really works that I know of, actually. That remote surgery on 5G with that low latency. I'm sure Dr. Leonard Lee here was performing surgery on some other guy in Indonesia right now. That guy would already be dead.
Pretty much, yeah. I've gotten hit with a malpractice suit a long time ago.
Yeah, there's one thing that everybody forgot about with that whole latency deal. It's called the internet. And physics and the speed of light. It doesn't matter how fast your segment of the deal is, you still have to jump onto the open internet at some point, and you can't control that shit. You just can't. And so, what are you going to do? Yeah, I remember Chetan Sharma a couple years ago doing the funny remote surgery at Mobile Future Forward, and yeah. Woo! Wow, it doesn't look like there's a lot of people. It looks like a pretty, nice sized hall for a convention, but it seems like it's sparsely populated. And you froze again.
Yes, he did.
Yeah, don't they normally have the TM Forum in the States here? Like, don't they have
it's around. It's just at different places.
They float around.
They float around, and sometimes they jump around.
There's a few IoT events happening at the moment, right? There's a Things conference in Amsterdam, which is tomorrow, I think. And there's another one at the RAI today, IoT Tech Expo. There's quite a lot going on, I think.
And Rob, you were at the big event yesterday in Washington. What was that about?
So I've been part of this Washington State IoT Council now since 2014 or something, which was originally started, people I worked with at Microsoft and anyway, worked for the governor. And it was just originally just to help promote IoT in Washington State. And so we've been doing this for a long time. So we have events and have a big council with people from all the big tech companies that are based here. So yesterday we did another event. It's kind of like a half-day thing, start at lunchtime and then go to the evening with a reception. And so we had discussions on IoT and aerospace. I'd say a lot of the sessions were probably more than not were focused on manufacturing and improving processes in manufacturing. And great, it's great to when you don't just have a bunch of techie IoT people talking and you actually have the customers there who say, yes, we did this thing and it transformed our whole business and we've saved so much money and we actually reimagined how we do manufacturing even. Great aerospace company. Obviously, we have Boeing up here, and then there's all these aerospace companies that orbit around Boeing, as you might imagine, probably just like you have in Toulouse with Airbus. And so that was interesting. We had a session on IoT and healthcare. And so we had people, digital transformation healthcare. We had doctors and people who really doing that. It's really funny is kind of like Leonard here talking about the trough of disillusionment. Everyone who comes to talk about their industry loves to lower expectations. And what I mean by that is they'll say, well, manufacturing, we're decades behind where whoever else is, and then the healthcare people say, and we're decades behind manufacturing.
Yeah.
And then agriculture, we're in the 1800s still, The great thing about lowering the bar and as the trough of disillusionment is it's a great way to lower the bar so low that if you do even the littlest thing, it seems like you're winning. And so that's kind of a human nature thing, I think. I was on a cool panel talking about IoT and the environment and sustainability. And we had a nice big panel and we talked about, obviously we did talk about agriculture, talked about a lot of the stuff I talked about last week in Houston at the IoT and oil and gas conference, where talked about, people trying to get to net zero. And this is actually a thing now. And so when the oil and gas companies say, okay, we're committed to doing this is about, basically it's monitoring emissions is where it starts, right? And so kind of just walk through the whole deal, because I created a roadmap for the oil and gas industry on how to do that upstream, where you're drilling, fracking, tar sand mining, all kinds of stuff. Midstream is storage, transportation, downstream is refining, stuff like that, all the way until the gasoline gets put in tanks under Buc-ee's at the gas station. In fact, that was my last slide. Literally, it's a picture of Buc-ee's.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah, because that's how much I care about that. And so, but
hey, that's Aggie owned and operated, right?
Wow, it figures. Yeah. But you know what? Lots of opportunity. When people are starting to take that stuff seriously, it's opportunity for folks like us to help strategize and help them, because guess what? They need lots of IoT sensors, right? We need to, how do you measure methane and CO2 and nitrous oxide and all these other noxious chemicals? There's different sensors. They use infrared cameras. They can even use lasers. But I tell you, unlike the TM forum, which is mostly about cellular, where you guys are headed to shortly over to the Things, conference with Laura, I feel like Laura is a better fit for a lot of this oil and gas stuff, because we all know, a lot of that stuff's pretty remote, right? It's out in West Texas somewhere where they don't have cellular coverage. And those poor guys have been paying a fortune for satellite connectivity over the years. And it's just I know satellite's gotten a lot cheaper, but it's just been way too expensive for them. At some point, it's like, was it even worth doing the ROI, right? And so
and it's only decent on the downstream. It's just horrible if you're sending data anywhere.
Yeah. And so I think Laura is going to be a big player in helping them get to net zero. And then, of course, we can talk broader. There's also, Climate Week is going on this week in New York. And so a lot of companies are all in with just ESG stuff. Some companies are pushing back and saying, hey, this is BS. Other companies are all in. But if you want to help the companies who are all in with that stuff, then I think we found at least, I know we're always looking for what's the killer app for IoT and LoRa and things like that. And I think this is one of those scenarios, because detecting emissions, it's not some kind of high volume data thing. It's not like video streaming or anything like that. Just to put it in perspective, how we always talk about IoT, hey, you're just competing with a guy with a clipboard. This is a perfect example of that. Basically, the EPA and other organizations are saying, hey, I need you to go out to this tank farm 4 times a year and take a reading, and then report and see what it is. In fact, I even heard terms like there'll be like a chain link fence up by whatever operations out in the middle of nowhere. And there's like little tags or coupons or weird things. They might be like change colors or whatever, but they pull them and say, yeah, I did it or whatever. As we all know, you could have enough methane or CO2 leaking for 3 months, and then you just find out about it, or you see dead birds laying all over the place, And so I think as those of us who are in the IoT space, we should advocate for continuous monitoring of that stuff. And continuous, if it means even if it's just a reading once an hour, that's 1,000 times better than what people are doing today. So anyway, talked about that stuff. That was good. We had some venture capitalists on a panel talking about investing in digital transformation. So we had folks from different VC firms. And so that was pretty interesting. Lots of questions, it's funny, as soon as one of the VC people that says something that we all know is true, they go, oh, as soon as I hear the word consulting or professional services, we are out of here. It's like Mark Cuban. And for that reason, I'm out. And so, because it doesn't scale. And yet I was like, well, you know what? In my time doing this IoT stuff, I have discovered Columbus that the IoT pure play companies that survived or started to do okay had a wake-up call and realized they need to provide professional services or consulting to the customers, because everybody built these self-service platforms and no one's doing self-service, and so it was kind of a weird kind of dichotomy there. It's like success in IoT means you are providing services. Everybody at their job at all these companies that we're trying to help, they've got day jobs and they're working around the clock on their job, and they don't have time to learn your platform and deploying sensors and devices and batteries. They need someone to help them. And so I feel like we've had some different coffee talk sessions with folks where they pivoted, and as soon as they started providing consulting, saying, we're going to show up on site and we are going to do it for you, all of a sudden magic happened. And they survived. And it's because customers need help. They need hand-holding, right? Anyway, I'm going to stop rambling. Any other comments from the peanut gallery?
That was a good ramble.
Thanks.
That was a good ramble. Well, Steve, dude, you're at like the Helium, whatever the hell it's called, right?
Helium House.
Helium House. Yeah. Is that like what do you call it? Clubhouse?
Well, it's interesting you say that, Leonard, because at the entrance on West 18th Street in Manhattan yesterday, they had like these balloons in an arch like you see at a Sweet 16. And it was right over the doorway leading into the Helium House. So, God. Yeah, maybe it was a fun house that it was supposed to be for the kids in the helium world.
Because it's kids play when it comes to helium. It's kids play.
And they're inhaling helium.
I will tell you this. Yeah, right. Stephanie, I will tell you that there was at one point I looked around and go, I am the oldest idiot. Man, I've been doing this shit too long.
Well, it's just because you're not using the right formula of just for men to create the
oh my God.
To create the illusion that you're 25 years old like I do.
Oh my gosh.
Oh God, if I have to resort to that.
Speaking of consulting and the negative connotations that comes with that, there are consulting firms now that are popping up that are purely and strictly focused on ESG. So
I believe it.
Oh yeah.
Whenever someone smells blood in the water, man, they're just.
Oh my gosh.
Stephanie, it's the same people that are no longer doing consulting in digital transformation.
Or blockchain.
Blockchain.
Oh, there you go.
But when it comes to making dinero out of this stuff, you look and say, is there a force or a government putting regulations that require someone to have to do something that they don't know how to do? Dive into that space right away. We are here to help you do that thing. That digital transformation, I love it. I love it. Who was it? Probably some friend of ours on LinkedIn. They shared yet another thing where some analysts say, if you don't do this, you're going to be left behind.
You're closing down.
A whole lot of people must have been left behind because.
Same thing with the metaverse.
Hey, Rob, I will tell you, one of the big announcements yesterday at Helium House was on their Freedom 5 5G program, where they announced T-Mobile was there, and T-Mobile will be their MNO roaming partner to fill in the holes on their 5G CBRS program. But it's amazing how little these kids know about what we all do. And so one of the first questions I asked the T-Mobile guy was, Oh, so are you putting a T-Mobile profile on the Helium 5G CBRS SIM? And like, no one knew what the hell I was even saying. None had no idea what. And so the T-Mobile business development guy was going, yeah. It's, you know, it's amazing how the fluff and the shit that the people do that you're just like going, oh my God, how the hell are you going to pull this off? What are you going to do with this? It's like amazing.
They're just grabbing people off the streets to work there.
Yeah, but why would they use? Yeah. But what's really odd is why, you know, that they would be using T-Mobile to fill in their the roaming footprint, to provide them with roaming.
Well, T-Mobile.
I mean, I don't get that. Why,
Leonard, T-Mobile by far from an enterprise, from a wholesale program is by far the most aggressive. So getting a wholesale contract done with T-Mobile for them is probably the most easiest carrier to be able to do that with, and it kind of fits into their, you know, progressive uncarrier crap that they do on everything else. I get that part. Right. And like, I get that part. And,
I would think it would be the other way around.
What do you mean?
That they T-Mobile might use them to fill in gaps in their network, because you know what? Quite honestly, I would tell you right now, my home, which is in San Diego, okay, 5G town, I need an iPhone 14 with that emergency SOS service to communicate. Okay, yeah. So if you
do you have Leonard? Did you get one of those?
Throws up like a friggin' heat.
Leonard, did you get one of those free? You know, a lot of times T-Mobile will give you a booster for your home because they know that their network needs support. So you just complain a little bit, and they'll mail you a free one.
But if you turn on Wi-Fi, you know, what do you call it? Wi-Fi calling, and it resolves it. But then, you know, it doesn't help me when I'm walking outside my house, right, and walking around the neighborhood. And so, yeah.
You know who we haven't heard from yet today is Mr. IoT.
Yeah.
I know he's absorbing everything.
I'm absorbing everything.
Give us some love. Give us some love.
Do you know what? I was just thinking about what you were saying about the connection problem. We have the same thing over here, right? You know, it's really poor. What are they called? Are they femtocells? Is that right? Is that what we call them? You call them a femtocell, right?
That's right.
So yeah, I mean, they dish them out like all the time over here. There's so many issues with the network, and it's all the carriers, certainly in the UK and Europe, right? And you just kind of think, well, something's inherently wrong if you just need to be rolling out these femtocells constantly to your customers, right? Maybe we should fix the root cause of the issue firstly, right, rather than just, you know, trying to gold plate it.
They said everything everywhere. And, and I'm not getting it.
It's nothing anywhere, frankly. I hope they're not listening.
And you know, and to be honest with you, even those one carrier boxes aren't. They're just, you have to go out to those third parties that provide a signal booster for all, you know, all the carriers. Those are only, to me, those are the only ones that really work on the home. The ones that they mail out, the free ones, they've never worked well in my home.
No.
Have you tried doing the tinfoil hat thing?
But every once in a while, maybe once a year, mine goes out, and I have to crawl into the attic, literally crawl into the attic and go flip a switch to make, you know, because it just, something happens where it turns off inside, you know, the box does, and I have to go into the attic to go do something, and my husband doesn't even know where the switch is, so I have to go up there and go do it.
You're so resilient. You're like pioneer woman living out on the range. You know?
I do have a good snake story. So this week, I love my snake stories. You know, every year in the fall, I kill a snake. Every year, it just doesn't matter, and it always happens when Chris is gone. Well, just last week, the biggest snake I've ever seen on our ranch, and it was a water snake, and he was really aggressive, and he was going after the chocolate lab. And so I got the lab put away, and I go get the hoe, and I come back, and it's gone. So it's the first snake I've come across that I did not get. And so now, of course, I'm traumatized, and I don't even want to go outside my house. So There we are.
Is that like when
there's my snake story.
Yeah. Is that like when you see a spider in your bedroom and then you go and then you can't see it anymore and you're like,
you're never going to sleep. You're never going to fall asleep
tonight. That's funny. Yeah.
Well, and I'm scared to let the cat out now because I'm scared that snake's just big enough to eat the cat. So.
Oh God.
Come on. Seriously?
Your cat will be fine.
The cat's a kitten still.
Oh,
okay.
So it's that big of a snake, though. It's python size, big, and it's all dark gray. It's scary.
You mean the kind of stuff that they find where Mr. Brummer lives in Florida? Like, they find.
God.
What is this python from the other side of the planet doing?
Those pythons are like wild dogs walking around.
They're in the freaking Everglades, with these giant pythons in the Everglades, and you see. I finally got to drive through the Everglades this summer, and what I noticed is that all I see is pickup trucks pulled over to the side of the road so that you can go fishing anywhere and everywhere that you can find a place to go fishing. That's basically what it is. And then sometimes they pull some kind of Burmese python out of the water.
Are you sure they're not going after the gators?
The gators are going after.
Can you not kill a gator?
No, you can. You have certain licenses, hunting licenses that allow you to do that.
Yeah, isn't there like an overpopulation of gators now?
There's more of an overpopulation of boas and pythons than there are in any doubt. Now you can take them out because all these people had them as pets. They got to like 18 feet in their house and they threw them out into the Everglades. Like,
that's crazy.
Just the fact that I didn't know today I'd hear about people having pythons as pets.
Now let's start. Now talk about a business opportunity. Let's track the hell out of freaking pythons.
Yes. No,
Tom, what do they have near your home that's just crazy?
We never see snakes in the UK, right? You never get them.
In other words, Tom, what kind of stupid crap do you guys do in your country?
They must have sent all their steaks to Australia, hundreds of
Yeah, that's
Australia,
right,
you're going to die somehow. There's and it's going to kill you there. Yeah.
We never have those issues like with anything. I'm trying to even think that the problems that we have with animals, but we don't have it. We don't have any, right? I think maybe squirrels. Like we used to have a lot of red squirrels, and they went, and now it's just overpopulated by grey squirrels. But yeah, we don't have issues.
Rabid squirrels.
Yeah, it's just really it's really bizarre for us to hear about snakes and gators and stuff. It's just it's just something that doesn't occur.
Yeah. You realize that is an embarrassing ass story, man. You know that, right?
Yeah.
Come on, you have problems with squirrels.
Yeah. Tying it to something Steve just said, about how like the T-Mobile guy didn't even know about profiles. We had our big event at T-Mobile's new 5G tech hub thing, and it's really nice. It's really cool. It's in Bellevue and great venue. But during my deal, I had to give everyone in the room a history lesson of the history of wireless and cellular in the United States. And they were like, they're like, I never heard that before. I'm like, here we are, T-Mobile, which before that was VoiceStream, and before that was Western Wireless, and John Stanton started all this stuff, and then he was the first employee at McCaw Cellular, which was the first nationwide cellular network ever. And people are like, "Oh, I didn't know any of that stuff," and I go, guys, you're like here in the cradle of so many wireless pioneers, and it even comes from a different direction. I go, because then years, Craig McCaw made so much money off of McCaw Cellular, years later, he tried to jump on the WiMAX bandwagon, if anybody remembers that. And he created Clearwire, trying to kind of, today they're all talking about fixed wireless access with 5G. That's what they were trying to do with Clearwire back then. Clearwire got acquired by Sprint, and now Sprint's part of T-Mobile, and so it's all together. Of course, the outlier is the reality is that McCaw Cellular ended up becoming what we all know today as AT&T Wireless. So lots of circuitous paths, but leave it to the old guy like me to give all the T-Mobile employees a history lesson of wireless and where everything came from. And that's how I got my start in IoT, because we were funded from McCaw Cellular back in the 90s, and so there's our history lesson for the day, kids.
Hey, Rob, was anybody from the 5G labs there?
Yes, there were, and the
How were
5G
they
labs are literally next door almost to this place.
Right, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
So I'm going to bring this back to a question that I wanted to bring up to the group. So the CTIA survey just came out, and one of the numbers that shocks me is that there's 190 million IoT devices as of 2020. Does that number seem realistic or not?
190 million?
Are they including smartphones? What are they including?
That would be a tablet or anything that is data, not necessarily a phone. Of the phones, here's the numbers that came out. There are
CTIA.
Their annual survey.
The way they do that, Steve, because I used to participate, they send out it's a massive spreadsheet, and they send it out to like 20 plus vendors. We used to help provide our numbers, and they essentially consolidate, and come up with averages based on everybody's inputs. And so I don't know, I stopped doing this about 3 years ago, because it just I don't know, the stuff that I was looking at in terms of the spreadsheet, it didn't make sense anymore. So I stopped doing it. But that's the way that they come up with their numbers, with all their stats. They have a lot of participating companies. They consolidate it, they average them out, and then they publish that out. Publish it. Yeah. So I'm curious who all is participating on their IoT connections.
It's got to be the same people, Stephanie. I mean, it's still got to be the carriers and the vendors, just like that. Anybody that's a member of CTIA that gets that program on the vendor side. But I just wish, I didn't know, 190 million, that doesn't really go to the billions and billions that we were talking about. And then you start to divide, right? You divide that up by, say, the last 10, 20 years of doing IoT, or any kind of data-only device, and go, man, that's not a lot of product. That's not a lot of devices out there.
Were they selling?
I thought you used the B.
Yeah. Were they saying 190 million cellular IoT devices?
Connections? Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It's absolutely
cellular.
Connections.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cellular.
Not to take anything here from Ericsson with a grain of salt, but at least when I was there and we were doing our connection management stuff, we thought there was around maybe 5 billion cellular connected IoT endpoints, and tablet is not an IoT device. And they were hoping that one day, like in the future, it would get up to 25 billion, or no, maybe not even that, maybe 10.
It was originally 50, and then they cut it to 25.
Yeah,
right?
Now,
they originally had it at 50.
Yeah, overall IoT devices, you know, cellular is still the least used way of connecting an IoT device because it's more expensive. And so people are going to, economics rules the world. So, you know, where do we think overall it's right now? I trust Matt Hatton more than anybody else on this, you know, because he usually has a more reasonable thing, like maybe around 25 billion or something like that. I don't know.
I still think that's massively inflated.
Yeah, and then it's hard because you look at, you know, if you went with the modular guys, you know, add the QuickTels, the Sierras, the Tellets, the U-Boxes, the Fibocoms, and add all them up. It's like not even close. I mean, a crazy number I got from QuickTel, they have sold 1.9 million 5G modules. 1 million of those 1.9 are in China. Okay. So that means they've sold less than 1 million 5G modules to date.
And you know what, Steve, about that, the numbers is I start to wonder and question, okay, just because they're connected, are they generating any revenue? Because number of connections really at this point in time does not mean anything anymore, because just like with subscribers for smartphones, it only means something when you're generating some kind of revenue off of that device or that connection. Right. And for the carriers, that's how they track, you know, their numbers. Same thing with IoT. Yeah, there are a lot of connections out there, but where's the monetization of that, and what's really lit and generating some kind of revenue for the carrier or for some other vendor?
Yeah,
that's to me that makes more sense for Wall Street than, okay, we're gonna push our numbers out through our financials, our quarterly earnings, and doesn't mean anything. I just don't think we're at this point.
Be careful, Stephanie. Steve is going to have his helium house come trump on you for lots of connections not being used for anything.
Well, listen,
are they counting those?
You mean a lot of nodes being used for nothing?
Listen, Rob, for $179, I will sell you your helium sensor kit for your house. Go get it. You'll take it open. You'll get your sensors inside.
Oh, we have an unboxing, folks. This is exciting.
This is exciting.
Here's your little sensors. Here's your little QR guide. You download the app off the App Store. You take a scan on the QR codes, and you're up and running on your helium miner in your home. So go to
that's plug and play.
All for $9.99.
And listen,
guarantee.
Listen. Stop it. You know me. I don't sell that for that low.
Mr. Brummer.
Buy low, sell high, Leonard. That's it. How much would that?
Alluding to what you're showing us there, do you have an announcement to make about any kind of big thing you're doing?
Yes. Next month, you'll be able to go to shophelium.store to buy your sensors, because they have 945,000 helium miners deployed for LoRaWAN around the world. 850,000 of them are to individual people like me or you in your home that have a miner. And so now that the blockchain has changed and the algorithms have changed, where it's not just proof of coverage, where it used to be just miner to miner to produce the HNTs, you need to use data credits. And finally, at 5 o'clock yesterday afternoon, Frank Mong announced to everybody, he goes, remember, it's around data credits. If you want to earn crypto, it's around adding data credits. And I'm sitting there going, here you go. This is your way of being able to do it.
Hey, where's Mark? Where's Mark when we need him on the IoT Coffee Talk?
Well, I know where he is. But
I know.
Oh, yeah, he's at the Things Network, right?
Right.
Yeah,
but
I'm going to be there with him.
And then, Rob, just to know after that, after we get the LoRaWAN, the helium stuff up, the next one after that is LoRaWANSuperstore.com. It's coming out with the same concept. If you have a LoRaWAN program and you want to be able to get sensors up and running on your miner or your gateway real quick, we'll be having 4-packs, 6-packs, and 8-packs for like restaurants and retail locations and things like that, because no one's addressing the SMB markets.
Right.
Hey, Steph, did this guy make a donation to Elevate Our Kids?
Yeah, we need a donation to Elevate Our Kids.
Marketing his crap on our show.
Oh my God!
ElevateOurKids.org.
Rob started it, Leonard. I didn't start it. He started it.
Steve, we're gonna expect that donation.
That's how we baited you.
ElevateOurKids.org.
Yeah.
So now I needed baiting. That's exactly right, Leonard.
Oh my God!
Just remember,
okay, guys, I'm gonna cut off.
Yeah.
I'm gonna cut off. I'm gonna go catch my flight back home.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Y'all have
a safe
fun.
flight.
See you soon.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.
So come on, Tom. Tell us how ridiculous we are, man.
Do you know what? It's been really interesting, actually. Those numbers that you were talking about, Steve. What was it? The CITA? Was it the CITA?
CTIA. So
CTIA.
It's the U.S.-based Cellular Telecommunication Industry Association, and they do this. They do this survey for the last 30 years. They've been doing it, but I get the report when they send it out. It's just like, because I think Rob hit it right. Most of us are spending a lot of time on the unlicensed spectrum side because it's less expensive. It's easier to put up. You got more sensors. Costs are a lot easier from a module standpoint as well, from Semtech and chipsets. I just found that 190 million goes on. Man, that's not a lot.
No, it's not.
It's just not a lot.
I think it's the cost, but also the roaming issues as well, right? That you've got.
I think the MVNOs are doing a really good job of handling the roaming agreements and not getting shut down like the old days. shut down by Jersey Telecom in the middle of the night. But I think from an overall standpoint, this is an unlicensed spectrum IoT world that's continuing to expand and go into, and it doesn't matter what the vertical is. I mean, Rob, and I talked about this the other day. I mean, it's just, you start to look at, smart ag and, transportation and logistics and tracking and all these other scenarios. I mean, Nano Things was at the Helium event yesterday. And Rob, that Nano Things has got that little tracker unit that's made out of the Flex technology.
Yeah.
That would have a Flex battery in it. You just put it onto a device and you can track it, and it's working on LoRaWAN.
Wow.
I mean, you got so many cool things that are going on there. So, the Helium stuff is really interesting. I mean, the crowd yesterday was phenomenal. Yes, there's a lot of under 35ers, that are involved, that were trying for the get rich quick scheme of what it is. But the amount of vendors, there were probably 12 vendors that paid big bucks to be on that show floor yesterday. And you start to think about what they're doing with blockchain and what they're doing with, they call it 5G, but we all know it's on the 4G LTE network. It's small cell for 4G LTE, big freaking deal. But when you start to question some of these people and say, why isn't it CBRS 5G? And they keep on getting to the point of saying, okay, well, I can't get band 48 chipsets low cost enough to be able to do IoT in this whole world. Right. So there's a lot of hype stuff, but it takes us, and I mean collectively us, that have been veterans of this stuff, that understand the hype and go, guys, until the CBRS included chipsets from QuickTel are down in the $30, $40 range, it's going to be hard to get it. I mean, it's just hard to get to those. And I finally saw yesterday, and Rob, I was thinking about you. I wanted to grab this from this guy. Taiwanese-based company, TCL, came out with a tablet that's got a CBRS-only module in it for under $400.
Wow.
So, it's got Wi-Fi in it as well, but still, from that standpoint, now you start to think and go, okay, well, now I can do a school.
Yeah.
And hand out tablets for $400 like a Surface Pro, right? I mean, so you're getting, some of these people are starting to get a little bit more innovative, but not from an IoT perspective.
That's interesting. So I have a question, Steve. You're showing us devices and chipsets and sensors. Do you have what is your current vibe on the supply chain of just getting devices and sensors in general these days?
Not bad. I mean, I think that because the economy is slowing down a little bit, some of the deployments are happening as fast, but I'm not seeing that shortage like we had to deal with a year or two ago. And so I don't think that's the issue. The biggest issue right now, Rob, is the fully encased products coming from China. Between the tariffs and the fuel surcharge on the shipping, I heard this morning that a OBD module is now at about $150 a piece, when those things should be at $30 or $40 or $50.
Yeah,
and it's just strictly because of the surcharges and those. I mean, so I think that's an issue that is going to affect how you put together a budget to roll out big numbers.
Right.
Yeah. You know what, man? I mean, it's almost like IoT modules have become like DRAM. There's a lot of folks out there playing the pricing game. In fact, there's probably a lot of stock out there. It's just that there's people who are basically holding back that inventory collectively, and a lot of it I think is out of China. I mean, I've gotten several calls from people who've been telling me, hey, look, this is what's happening, and this has been going on for at least a year and a half, not two, and so it's weird. It's this game that's being played now, and so when you look at modular pricing, it's completely out of whack. And based on what you're saying, Steve, I mean, geez, that's like an order of magnitude you're talking about, right? You know, and there's people who know it. Do you know what I'm saying? And they're playing the geopolitics and the trade dynamics to command a higher price for whatever it is that they're selling, and they're making a killing off of it. Yeah. But
yeah, and I'm not going to get into the politics of crap, but you sit there and go, you know,
hearing a similar kind of. No, but that is what seems to be happening. Where we had a race to the bottom pricing. That's not what we're looking at now. Right? We have like lumpiness, artificial lumpiness in pricing and padding pricing. So anyway.
No, I'm in agreement with you. But I also think that when you start to look at the CHIPS Act, and you guys talked about this, a month ago or something, and then one of the 122 episodes when we were talking about the CHIPS Act, and you're sitting there going, all right, that's still another generation away, right? To get to the point of where we are being able to self-produce modules in our environment here, along with the devices from a contract manufacturer that stays here. So, that's a challenge, a good philosophy to look at saying, here's where we're going to get to. But when it's all said and done, man, holy crap, how many surcharges and how many things can you handle on products like that?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Steve, you mentioned that the wait time is kind of decreasing at the moment, right? So certainly in Europe, from an end user perspective, it's still massively long lead times to get hold of any inventory in any real scale. Why do you think it's decreasing? Do you think the supply chains are just opening up a bit more? Is that the reason, or?
Yeah, I think there is. We're not having the shutdowns in Guangzhou and Shenzhen and some of the provinces like there was before. So they're still producing them, and it's still coming in there. I think it's going to backfire on them on the side of the higher cost associated with it. I mean, there's a fuel surcharge on products coming in. I mean, these guys are charging them, and now we're not. Tom, we had hundreds of boats, freighters waiting outside of Long Beach in California to get IoT devices in. We don't have that issue anymore, but they're still charging us, exorbitant rates. So I think things are easing as far as manufacturing is concerned and getting these things in. Never really, there's no shortage of gateways and miners and products and things like that. I just think the overall pricing is going to be an effect on us.
Yeah.
Miner 49er.
Yeah, I mean, and I was talking to a guy yesterday from India. He's building IoT boxes and products and gateways in India. They're having no problem. Turkey. I talked to another manufacturer of miners from Turkey, not having a problem. So, I don't think it's that. I think it's the rest of our economic world around how the hell do we deploy this stuff and what's the pricing going to look like, and I just we have those challenges, and I was gonna there you go.
What do you guys think about Blues Wireless?
Yeah, I know we talked about that. I mean, I think that whole encompassing idea is there, and I will bring up what our illustrious friend Mark brought up last week, and Rob, you and I talked about it the other day. What a phenomenal freaking product that he is working on. I mean, if you can turn around and have that edge box with, inside that device just like that in one shot, I mean, that is really cool.
Yeah. I think, yeah, that's right. The Balena Raspberry Pi, it's going to, Influx DB, Grafana. Yeah. I mean, it does sound like a low cost edge thing in a box, HMI, a whole bunch of stuff. Yeah, definitely. That could be interesting. And that, I think Mark referred to it as the Ming stack. Is that like Ming the Merciless from Flash Gordon?
The Ming. Yeah, the Ming the Wild Thing. Oh, by the way, I wanted to tell you, so here, by the way, I'm in Copenhagen, Denmark, and it's awesome. number one, a really cool country and really awesome city. I haven't been able to see a lot, but I bumped into Leonard Donnelly, who is the CEO of Waylay.io.
Yeah.
And of course, he's one of the many C-level folks and entrepreneurs who watch our show, and he knows us from. Well, I think he knew you guys before, but yeah, he was. We were chatting, and he was talking about how much he liked the show.
That's great.
I was like, "Oh, really?" And he goes, "Oh, yeah." I was like, "Dude, you guys you tell it like it is. You guys get real. It's like freaking refreshing as hell." So. Just wanted to pass that on.
That's nice.
I always wonder what the hell we're doing. It's like, what the freaking? But all I know is I have fun. I love, hanging out with you guys, and it's always nice to come to an event like this and have some of the folks who watch your show walk up to you, or you go to their booth, and then you start talking about the show and why they love it. So. Just wanted to share that with you guys because we're nowhere close to the 1 billion followers that we aspire to have. So at least we can find some consolation in the fact that there's 1 or 2 people who actually like our show.
Yeah, and I feel better too, Leonard, because yesterday at the Helium House, I had like a half a dozen kids come up to me and go, "Oh, you're the IoT Nuggets guy. Oh, okay. I've watched your stuff."
Awesome.
Is that good or bad?
I listen to IoT Nuggets in my car.
There you go.
I have.
So it is and I was with James Brem yesterday, and now he's going to start to do one because he's so jealous that all of us have got our little thing going, and he's like, "Oh man, I got to put a podcast together."
You know what though? This is a good thing in general, right? Because people talk about raising the seas and all the boats rise together.
Yeah.
So
agreed.
The more you talk about it, the more it happens. And like Leonard, picking up on your comment, like when I've done my podcast and then people are go, "Oh, I've listened to that, I've heard that," and I'm like, "Oh, are people actually watching this?" And I'm that's really good, and it kind of it's that realization feeling that people are interested in the subject matter, people are listening to it, and it's not just you guys having a chat, right? So I get that. That's a nice feeling to have, right? Especially when you meet people face to face after such a long time.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And listen, it's all about education also, Tom. I mean, we have a responsibility, the 4 of us and everybody else in our circles that do these things, to educate. And I had this conversation yesterday with a high-level private equity firm that's involved in crypto and helium. And I said, we have to educate not only the customers or the potential buyers of this stuff, but the vendors, the ecosystem players, the students, the STEM students that we want to get back into it. I mean, I'm looking at this room of people at the Helium House yesterday, and yes, majority is under 35. They don't know anything about IoT.
Right.
They're in there for the crypto money, right? So they don't understand it. So now all of a sudden, when they have to understand what a sensor is, and you look at the 12 vendors that are in there, and all of them are IoT vendors that you and I and all of us talk to and know about and everything else. Half the room didn't even know what the hell nano things was, or who, Ready Wireless. No one knows these people, and I think that's part of the education that we have to do.
Yeah,
that's our responsibility.
Right. You're right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know what? We are all going to pull this bitch out of the trough of disillusionment.
As long as they pay us, Rob.
That's right. Yeah. Yep. Absolutely.
So to go back to that
one of these days.
Yeah. So Tom, I know you probably don't. I know I saw you're teasing something out there on the interwebs about some announcement.
Yeah.
I don't know what you're talking about, man. Or maybe you can't.
We're rebranding our podcast basically to include some other bits and pieces, right? So I think that was what the tease was. I'll let you in on a secret. I didn't actually post that. Katie posted that. Yeah. Katie was on my LinkedIn whilst I was doing something else, so I saw it flash up on my phone. But yeah, we're including some other bits and pieces and kind of making it more inclusive. Yeah. But yeah, going back to the point you said about STEM, right? I think that's really important, because I know you guys are actively involved in Elevate Our Kids, and I've spoken to you about that, Rob, separately, and Leonard and Stephanie and various people. But I think that's, you've got to inspire the next generation, because unless you inspire that next generation, it's not going to happen anyway. And Steve, I hear you on the point that some people don't even know about, the technology, etc. But yes, we have a commitment. But we can also learn from kind of the naivety in a way, and we can learn from that kind of willingness. So I think it's actually quite a good thing in a way to do that. And I remember the last the IoT Coffee Talk that we did. I think it was with Andrea. I think I was giving some advice about about what her boy should do, and I just said talk to everyone, right, and find a passion from speaking to as many people as possible. So this is why people listen to us. This is why we do it in essence, because we can share the ideas and hopefully that people pick up on it. Right?
Yeah. Oh, that's good. You're right.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, a big part of it, and Rob, you brought it up. People don't. You're looking at the surgery over 5G, and you don't realize that it's the internet. You know how many kids, and I'm saying kids because I'm the elder statesman of this crazy group. When you look at kids that are going for their masters in computer science or masters of data science, and you sit there and go, you know what? I want you to do me a favor. Explain to me when you take this phone and you press send and you call your grandmother's phone in her home, how does that happen? Like, how does it go from one end to the other? And you can ask a room full of master degree students, and they have no idea how this crap works.
It's magic.
And so you go back to the point of going, let me get this right. You're going to be a data scientist. You're going to do analytics. You're going to figure out security issues on wireless technologies and certificates and PKIs and all the other. And you don't know how it goes from one end to the other. How the hell can you do this? How can you not educate yourself? So I think that's, again, a part of what we do, Tom, right? We have to explain it to these younger people of all the things that we know in order for this market and this whole world to be able to get to the point where we want it, committed to IoT.
Yes. And Steve, I will totally agree with you that your house is old as hell. So right on, buddy. But you know what?
You're going to plug in a LiPo battery into Steve Brummer, and we'll get another few years out of him
alive.
I ain't retiring. You guys are going to have to deal with my crap for more years, baby.
Oh my God! No, we're gonna take up your mantle. We're gonna carry the torch for you, bro.
No, he ain't. We're all going down together.
Yeah.
But I want to give a shout out. I want to give a shout out to Apple that they should forget donate to Elevate Our Kids, because Steve Brummer was waving around that iPhone, whatever the hell it is, and that was like free advertisement. You guys at Apple, come on, you guys got like trillions of dollars. Give it up, baby. Help some kids out, all right? It's like, BS that you're not doing that when, we have Steve fronting you guys. So do the right thing. Do the right thing, baby.
Do the right thing. I'm loving my iPhone 14 Pro Max.
So how much? So when you were loading, how much different is it than the 13? Like, how much significantly different?
The camera. That's the only difference. I mean, it's the camera. If you're like me, if you're like most people, those of us who research the cellular market, we know the number one driving factor of smartphone purchases is the camera. And by far, actually, it's not even close. And so Samsung's been way ahead of Apple. Well, Android usually puts more bleeding edge stuff in earlier, and Apple doesn't put it in until it's really baked. But having the 48 megapixel camera, saving the RAW format, the pictures are giant. The file size is huge. If you're a weirdo like me, like I do lots of stuff like that. I take lots of pictures and I'll go send them to MPix or make canvases and stuff like that. I mean, I hate to say it, I even have a shop on Etsy. And so as someone who loves photography and stuff like that and doing landscapes photography, having 48 megapixels means that when you blow it up, it can be a bigger size before it pixelates, right? Mm-hmm. And so I'm going from 12 megapixels, where Apple's been forever, to 48 is great. You have to do a little change in the setting to force it to do raw and 48 megapixels, though. Because what it'll do is it'll use the 48 and do what they call pixel binning and then still give you a 12 megapixel picture. But you can do some settings on the camera and force 48. And then you can just do really giant blow up landscapes, on canvases and stuff like that to put on the wall or put on your Etsy shop with all your other crafty stuff. Anyway.
Yeah, that's a good synopsis. I've got the 14 Pro. It's basically that. What's your take on the dynamic island, Rob? Do you rate
the dynamic island has changed my life. I don't know how I've lived so long without the dynamic island here. I love how they have ads on TV about the dynamic island. Whatever. Apple can make anything seem amazing to people. They're like, oh, I got to have that dynamic island. I'm going to get rid of my notch and have a dynamic island instead.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
My thoughts exactly. There isn't really much there, right? It doesn't really do anything. It's crazy, but it shows the branding works, right?
Hey, man, branding works. Marketing is everything, right?
Here's the thing. I never thought that notch was really all that bothersome. I always saw it as more of like, you got two little extra spaces beside it for like additional nonsense that didn't crowd out the other I can't even talk because I had a beer. The clear part of the screen. So I don't know. It never bothered me. But you have all these like techno pundits that make they make a big deal out of nothing. You know what I'm saying? But kudos to them for shutting them up for a little while, but I'm sure that people are going to start to figure out excuses for nonsense. But that's not going to stop Apple from it.
No, I'm looking forward to seeing you guys in Vegas next week. We're going to have a good time. It's going to be fun.
All right. Yeah, let's shut this baby down. It's like going over an hour, right?
Yeah.
We're having too much fun.
We are having too much fun.
Next week.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
All right,
looking forward to an amazing steak at Steve Wynn's Steakhouse.
I cannot wait, guys. And I'll see you guys, and I'll send you out an invite for the rechange on Thursday.
Sounds great. Looking forward to it. All right. Hey, awesome. Tom, thanks for joining. And Tom, man, you can come anytime. Welcome. All you guys. I mean, the more the merrier.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I've had fun.
Oh, that's great. That's awesome.
Safe travels, Leonard, as well.
Thank you. Thank you. All right.
See you.
All right. See you later, guys.
You need to be safe when you're in Vegas, because woo.
All right. IoTCoffeeTalk.com. Remember that. Subscribe.
Oh, yes.
Like,
subscribe.
And we are out.
All right.